that you have to get your hands dirty. You can't do a startup with a corporate mindset.
And when people tell me that I can't do something, I will do whatever it takes to prove them wrong.
लाइफ में ना दो तरह से कॉम्पनसेट होते हो आप. वन इज योर अर्निंग एंड वन इज योर लर्निंग.
Fundamental each has always been खुद करो.
I'm your host, Akshay Datt, and you're listening to Spotlight, a podcast in which I speak to disruptive startup founders.
Hi, this is Prateek Bhargava, founder and CEO of Mindler.
What should I do next? This is a question that plagues millions of teenagers as they cross major milestones in their lives. This was traditionally answered by a combination of advice from friends and family and internet research. But there is a better way of doing this. Imagine having a personal advisor who understands the inherent skills and aptitude of the child and then, based on the knowledge of the varied career paths available today, designs a customized career path and offers guidance on how to achieve that. This is exactly what Prateek Bhargava is building at Mindler with the help of technology and content. Having experienced the benefits of a career coach personally, he set out to build a tech-enabled service that would help millions of kids to get the same benefits and make better career decisions. Here's Prateek telling Akshay Datt about how he developed Mindler.
So, Prateek, where are you from? Tell me about Prateek as a kid growing up years.
So I've been a Delhiite all throughout. Obviously born and studied in Delhi.
Which school?
So I was in Manasthali school.
Tell me about growing up, studying at Manasthali. What did your parents do at that time? What were you like as a kid?
So I come from a business family background. My father and his brothers run Taxman Publication, which is one of the biggest publication house in the tax and accounting space. So had access to good quality education right up front. Also, it was instilled that academics is extremely important. While I was extremely passionate about cricket and had envisioned to be the next Kapil Dev at that time. So I kept doing that. I think till 8th grade, it was just all about cricket, but I kept my acads in check all through.
Did you play state level and tournaments?
No. So it was largely clubs, it was largely school and all that stuff. I did a lot of cricket. I used to play a lot. But yeah, very soon around 8th, 9th grade, I took a call. I think acads is more
You
insane.
took a call or a call was taken for you?
I took a call. I think it was more practical in the sense that when I saw, it was a very realistic assessment of where my skills as a cricketer per se, particularly with my ambition of being a fast bowler. So that's what I was wanting to do. Spin, etc. never excited me. So it was and as I said, the role model was Kapil Dev at that stage, right? So that's what the thought process was. But given the background that I came from, family background particularly, all of them were in a education oriented business, so as an education was important, although at that stage no stage was it the plan to ever get involved in business directly. It was always instilled that make something of your own and do that. So that was the messaging from the parents end.
So your parents were first generation, or Taxman was started by your parents?
My grandfather, so that was the second generation.
How did your grandfather start Taxman? What's his origin story?
So just like it was a business opportunity he found. His forefathers were lawyers, but it was something which he brought up right from the scratch. So he had gone through that grind of building the business, doing every small thing on his own, and brought it to a certain stage, after which my father and his brothers, they joined the business and they've taken it to a decent scale now.
So they must have been based out of that Daryaganj publishing hub. There's that hub of publishing in Daryaganj.
Yeah. So originally, my parents are from Brindavan, but obviously they shifted to Delhi very early. I was born in Delhi only, so we were in multiple places in Delhi before we are right now in Punjabi Bagh in West Delhi. So I have been here, and we've been here for almost over 30 years. So my grandfather established the business from ground up like that, and then it was taken over by.
So what did you do in your plus two? Was it science, commerce? What was the?
I took commerce with maths. So maths was something which I loved doing. So I recall how I blended maths and cricket matches. Like I used to love all these West Indies and New Zealand series. So the whole night I used to stay up, and my excuse for staying up was I was preparing and studying maths. So I used to love doing that. So the whole night I would do that, whether it was 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the night, and continue doing that stuff. Apart from that, commerce as a subject, because it was very clear. So like when I was in grade 11, the obvious choice which came, and that is something which I had not done by my own self. It's just from peers, family, and my career coach. At that point, law was the profession that I wanted to be in. So, and because my CATs were good, I was rank one, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I was a school topper. So, when I wrote the CLAT exam, I got through Nalsar, which is one of the best law colleges. Went there for 14 days, realized that this is certainly not what I want to do, because in my head it was, despite coming from a family of lawyers, it was like law was something which I was extremely passionate about. But when I went there, I realized it's a BA LLB program. So the first 2 years are just pure general arts, which was completely not what I wanted to do ever. So from the first day itself, being the impatient me, I wanted to study law, but that came in quite later. I also had a 95% and all for my class 12, so I got clear through Delhi University. So I said, why not do this? Law can be pursued even later. So let me go back to Delhi and do that. So 14 days in Nalsar, I left that. I came back to Delhi and started with my BCom honors journey. And I think it was a blessing in disguise. I was extremely good there. I was the university topper. I got great grades. I was able to, at that point of time, then I got exposed to management as a side of education, then wrote the CAT, got through MDI. So that's how it happened.
So, what was, entering into MDI as a fresher? What was that whole experience like? I'm sure there must have been a lot of folks who have come after work X and all. Did you feel out of place there? How were those 2 years like for you?
So I think more than MDI, when I was getting into BU, so that's where I was when I was in Nalsa, right? Even though it was 14 days, generally people were there who had cracked the exam, and you were not surrounded by the 90% creme de creme layer of the entire country, which was there in Delhi University. Now, because I was able to do really well, it gave me a huge amount of self confidence. And so when I reached MDI, I was like, I had a nice percentile, I had everything. So it wasn't really that much of a overwhelming feeling when I in fact graduated from MDI. So till that time I was always a rank holder. So when I went into a B school like that, and I knew there are extremely smart people around me, so it was just there to study and enjoy. But I was able to actually perform very well there. I was a gold medalist there. So that achievement was very special, that amongst that kind of a crowd to be able to achieve that. Plus I think maths, accounts, all these skills, a lot of engineers come into MBA programs. So I picked up all those things very fast. And in fact, and I love training, mentoring, so I used to help a lot of my peers. So created a nice network, created nice camaraderie. It was nice, it was good fun.
And what did you specialize in?
So I specialized in human resource management and marketing at MDI.
This was the PGP HR program then? Like, I'm also from MDI, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, I did the PGP HR program
Okay.
2007.
Okay.
Yeah, 2007.
I passed out in 02. That time they didn't have PGP HR. It was just
Okay.
one.
Yeah. I think it was the third batch. Pritam Singh had created that.
Okay.
Of course, yes.
So did you sit for placements, or you were clear that you will join your family business?
No, I sat for placement. I was never planning to join the business directly. The idea was to create an independent career, start something of my own about 5 to 6 years later. So that was the plan. The plan was never to go into business, because it was an established business doing really well in a particular field. So the idea was, can we create? And coming from a joint family, it was always inculcated that be independent, start something of your own, expand the pie per se, how you call it in a business setup. So that was the idea. Education as a sector, though, I was always very close to. So I knew whenever I start something, it will be in the ed field, so that I can use the tailwinds of the business to go in either direction. So all that clarity I had at that stage. Yeah. So that much planning we had done.
So where did you join from campus?
So I joined Maruti Suzuki. So I got an amazing opportunity, more like an executive associate role to the COO at that point of time. So got an amazing chance to actually see how the working at a 40,000 crore company level happens. I was like there in all these board meetings, and doing the smallest of tasks, right from minute taking to actually taking care of all the documentation. So I learned all these tricks and stuff that they do at that senior level. So got a very very nice overview. Plus, because I was working with the seniors, so the movement in career was also very fast, right? Because my boss was the number two guy in the company. So in terms of opportunities, exposure, being part of stuff like being part of independent director boards, etc. I remember we had a young executive board in Maruti, so I was made the member and chair of that, so got to do that. And a lot of opportunities came because of that, so I spent about 2 or 3 years there doing that bit.
Hmm. So, what made you want to do a second MBA? Like, I mean, is it one enough? Like, मेरे तो एक ही बहुत था. Somehow I managed to finish one.
So this was the most, in fact, not the most, the first question that I was asked in any B school interview. So when I was at MDI, I then wanted to make a shift towards strategy consulting, and I was getting offers from all the, let's say, the tier two consulting firms. But if you want to target the Accentures or a BCG or a McKinsey, etc., at that stage, it was a little challenging because a you would not get those opportunities because they were largely recruiting from campus,
Right.
and laterals I had a very limited experience. So I thought, why not look at a 1 year super specialization? Also go and study entrepreneurship. So I'd applied to INSEAD, I had got through. I'd applied to Wharton, I had got through. I'd got applied to ISB, I had got through. INSEAD told me you're too young. I was 24 or 23 at that stage. So they told me we'll give you an admission after a year. But being the impatient me, I said no, I need to go now. And ISB, I had got an offer, loved that campus, loved the everything that they had to offer, so chose to do that. And then that 1 year was amazing fun. Got to do a lot of new stuff, studied, participated in a lot of events and that all that stuff. So yeah, very very good learning. And
So you got through into your dream job, your target of consulting. So what was that like? Like tell me about your Accenture stint.
so nice. Accenture, the moment I got in, I was looking at an opportunity to work in different products. I knew I had auto sector experience, so I would get pulled towards that, and it automatically happened. So at that point of time, Accenture had one of these biggest consulting projects that they had cracked, which was with Tata Motors, and got to work on that. It was a pure data analytics, machine learning led kind of a project, which was, and I would say my entire ideation behind Mindler, that use of data to take decisions. I think the seed came in there. It wasn't planned, it just happened. It could have been any other project. I remember I was supposed to go to Sri Lanka as one of my projects working for Brandex, but this happened, this materialized for some reasons. And then I was in this project and I did multiple others. But yeah, great experience working there. It was like I loved traveling, so it just opened up that door. I was never at home, so Monday morning I would fly out, Friday evening I would fly in, and the whole week I would just travel from one place to another, earning jet miles at that point of time, Jet Airways. So yeah, it was good fun. I loved traveling, loved, and I had all my ISB friends in different cities, right? So Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, or overseas projects, etc. So you get to do that. So that was fun for a lot of people. That becomes a big bummer, given the huge amount of travel. But I think people who love traveling, I think it was a fantastic job.
And what was the project about? Like,
The
what was
problem
the
statement
problem
basically
statement
was
that you
that
were
Tata
solving?
Motors wanted to, they were sitting obviously on a huge amount of data. The idea was how can that data be converted into meaningful intelligence and used to increase the
Data
everything,
about vehicles, data about
customers, then you
customers.
had
What?
product wise segments,
Okay.
etc., market data analysis. How do you actually use algorithms to screen leads better, identify what kind of leads management can be done better. Then we would actually be on the ground in different regions. So I remember right from Salem to Varanasi to Indore, Bhopal, Gwalior, Jabalpur, MP, northern part UP, and then Tamil Nadu. So these were some of the areas that I handled. And then yeah, was understanding and basically trying to create templates and then installing them in different regions at the dealership level. So got to roam around all those regions, right from even the remotest areas like Mirzapur. I remember there were dealerships there, did work there, and interesting experiences working in that setup.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And when did you decide to move out of Accenture and like
So my timeline
become
was
an
2 years.
entrepreneur?
In my head, that 2 years is what I will spend here, and about 2.5 years is what it took. So I before quitting and starting with Mindler, last 6 months while I was at Accenture, I had done all my planning. I had put in together the people who I want to work with. So I had done all that planning beforehand.
How did the idea come to you that what is it you want to do?
So, as I said, education and entrepreneurship were the two common points which had to be in my idea, because that those are the base I was thinking on. Then adding elements of stuff which I was passionate about. I loved mentoring. I used to help a lot of my juniors and peers, as you would typically do for college apps and all. So I used to do that. Then I was in constant touch with my career coach, who was with me since grade 10th, right? So we kept on chatting, and he was at that point of time running a company, basically working with the government and helping them in skill development. So that's where we came up with this idea that career guidance as a space is massive. Did a lot of research on it, had 4 or 5 ideas which I was toying with. But then when this one came in, we felt like this is where it ticks all the boxes. It's something which I would love to do, has huge potential. It's not going to be straightforward easy. It is going to be team dependent also, so we'll have to have the right set of people. Did a little market research, saw the opportunities, saw what global companies were doing. So did all those basic stuff that as an entrepreneur you learn that you should do before
Hmm.
even you think of venturing out.
What made you think that career guidance is huge? I mean, are there companies in the US which have reached a large scale, which were inspiration, or like what made you feel this is going to be big?
So that was one area where we did not look at the West, because it's a very different scenario there, right? Like I would always be amazed at the way people take career decisions. Like even in school, I remember because I was a topper, automatically my teachers had put me as a PCM student. Either he will become an engineer or a scientist, and I said I don't like it. I don't want to study chemistry. Like why should I do it? And I'm really good at maths, and everybody, because you're good at maths, you should pick up science. I said, this doesn't work like that. So that was my personal experience. I had a coach. But then I always used to think that this is the same problem. And you sit on, and how we used to do a market research, just go to any party, pick 10 parents, and is this a problem for you? And they'll say, huge problem. Would you pay for it? Absolutely. If we are ensured that there is quality on the table. But there was a big caveat that you had to ensure that there is quality. So we knew it is not going to happen that I run an ad and suddenly people will see and run to you. You will have to build credibility, because at the end it's not a concept which was brand new, right? It was a concept which has been there for ages. It is just not done in an organized and structured way. So that were some of the parameters, because at that stage I remember the examples you were looking were at biggest aggregators. There was Uber coming up, there was Airbnb. So those were the examples at that stage we were thinking. And the mantra in business schools was always about aggregating and doing that stuff. So
Asset
yeah,
light.
asset
Hmm.
light and doing stuff. So that's where the idea of technology, so it's like all these environmental things just came into being. And then we shaped the idea. And when we started also, all our pivoting luckily happened within the first 6 months. And I think that's courtesy the research that we were doing. We did not as like, and I see a lot of my young friends and students who want to, they'll just like think of an idea and they just want to jump in, right? It's just somehow I don't know how it happened, that in my head, research was extremely important before I even invest any time, energy, money. Because my plan was to invest my money internally initially, rather than just going out and raising funds. So that was a strategy. So it was even more cautious. So we took that informed decision. And yeah, from a market sizing perspective, it was a no-brainer, right? If you just look at India as a country, just India, forget about the global market. There isn't a lucrative population elsewhere. There is no dearth of paying capacity. This is the element on which every family has to pay. Then we used to see where these parents would go wrong. Like there's so many students who would enroll into a law test prep program or engineering test prep, and within 3 months leave it. Huge number of dropouts, meaning people are not taking informed calls. Plus, you go to schools and they're still there. You go to tier two, tier three cities. Out of 25 sections in a school, in 24 are studying science. So it's a blatant problem. So the only thing was that we knew the problem, but the solution wasn't easy. It's not like you just go tell them, because there are huge, deep mindset issues here, right? It takes time. And we are seeing that change happening now. I think 3 4 years I've been in this space, seeing that this is the first year wherein like marks cannot be relied upon, right? and even a 96, 97% nobody really cares. Like, it does not get you anywhere. Even a 96 doesn't get you anywhere. Our days, 95% means I could blindly close my eyes and I'm getting into the top college of the country. It doesn't work
Right,
anymore.
right, right.
So now all those tailwinds, NEP coming in, so these
Hmm.
things came in the process. But yeah, when we started, those were some of the thoughts that we had.
So, what was the original idea? Like when you quit your job and started, what was it like to offer career counseling as a one-time fee payment, and you like sit with the child and figure out what is the best career, or like what was the initial business model?
So the idea was very simple. We never wanted to get into personalized one-on-one kind of guidance. That was not something which we intended to do on our own. The idea was that create a tech platform which can be used by millions, and it could be used by not only students directly but educators also. So let's say if Akshay wants to start career guidance and wants to give that, he uses my platform. So the idea was to be like the Google Mail behind their entire application system and everything. And so that's what we started. The only thing which we were thinking differently earlier was that we will not need to create instruments of our own, tools of our own. Like, we thought those will be available and we'll just pick up and use that as the base. And when we started, we realized that is where the biggest gap in itself was. So that's where we took a decision that we will do this research, we will build our own, and if we do that right, then it just beautifully blends into our model, right? And today I have over 300 career coaches who are using my assessment platform to guide their kids, and we have built layers and tools on top of it. Schools are doing it, students are doing it, and it also gives me a step into the decision making for every other product these students will take. Because whether I should go for law test prep, whether I should do a Coursera course on ethical hacking, or I should do a virtual internship, all of that has to come from that getting that base decision right, right? And even I didn't do that. Like, at my stage, law was a perfect fit for me in those days, like from a career point of view. But had somebody told me that this is what you're going to do, like, even had I just opened the curriculum of that college and seen that this is what, I would have saved at least the initial deposit that I gave at that college. So small things like that, which is a function of lack of awareness. I could course correct very quickly. A lot of people don't. Like, in a lot of cases, just withdrawing that small sum could be a big challenge. There are so many angles to it, right? And people do that. You would know tons of people who just study engineering for the sake of it, or whatever, choose, and their career actually starts after they've done their undergrad. Like, undergrad is like PCM and engineering, and chalo, ab now we will start. So yeah. So I think that problem was the one we wanted to address.
Hmm. So, you could have taken two approaches. One was a pure B2C approach where you say, okay, I will build a platform and I will go and sell it directly to parents, or I will sell it to schools for institutional deals. Or second is that you say that, okay, I will create something which is white label that other people can use. And so, what made you choose that second route and not the first route?
So yeah, you're right. Today we use a B2B and SaaS route rather than a B2C route. The moment we started, the first thing, as I mentioned, was getting the credibility in place, right? Till the time the top 200 or 100 schools of the country are not using a product, right? The trust element is not there. One. That was one logic. And then, given the model that we had, captive audience acquisition was the better way to go, because rather than working with one student, you tie up with a school, you get 300, 500,000 kids on board. Second, just pure economics, right? Just unit economics. The cost of acquisition of a student on the B2C channel is extremely expensive, and that can only be done at scale after you have raised huge amount of funds, right? As an entrepreneur, it's almost, you can't build a profitable business from day zero to on that road, because it's extremely expensive. Otherwise, you will be very limited in scale if you try and do that. So B2B was a very very practical way to go about it, and also it, in a way, it created a moat, wherein it's extremely difficult. Any investor I would go and talk to is like, Prateek, B2B is very tough. We haven't seen people do that. It's challenging. While the idea of business is great, the decision making is a little shaken up there. Like, you will not know will take the call. So, but the other side was that if you crack it, that's a huge moat. Like, nobody else can replicate that for a long time. So that was the plus side for it. So it was the hard route, but we took that also. And largely, I think my one answer on that would be the unit economics. It just worked better on that side. And we are now doing B2C. All the students who have been acquired, they have unlimited number of products that they can take, so we keep on integrating stuff, and that's our pathway to scale this up further.
Hmm. Okay. So when you started, what all was there on the platform? Like, tell me about product version one.
Product version 1 was just the assessment and automated activities. So that was a very cool thing we had built, wherein we wanted to reduce the lead time of counseling. Right, typically if a student goes to a counselor, their prejudice, their preconceived notions, etc., are driving decision making. So we said no, let's use algorithms. We will have the best counselors ask questions which are pre-coded, and you will get like a Dr. Patlal report, which is like with markers, and then you use that to guide. So that was the first version of the product, which had the assessment and that. And then slowly, we added layers of multiple other stuff, right from college planning tools to entrance exams to scholarships. Now we have virtual internships. Then we introduced the SaaS product, which was the white labeled or the co-branded version. Then we launched India's first certification program for educators, wherein any educator can actually come to us, get trained and certified. Because when we made our problem statement, the points were that 93% students, as per our research, in India seek career guidance. 99% of our schools do not have any kind of career guidance. And there was a need of over 1.5 million career coaches in the country, just in India. So our product plan was designed on those problem statements, like right from the consult. And I think consulting experience really helped me in that ways, at least in laying out the thoughts and putting it together, that these were the problems, this were the linked solutions, this is where it overlaps. So we did a lot of that, and yeah, so and that's where the products have come in that particular flow.
The initial sales was happening to schools. Like that was your first market.
Just schools. We were after the best schools in the country, and we were like, if we have to get rejected by them, then we have to go back on the drawing board, right? If they adopt it, then every other school will, at least then the product is acceptable, right?
When did you crack your first big deal?
So this was La Martinia Girls College in Lucknow. So that was the first big one, and one of the top schools in that region, followed by schools in Dehradun and all other regions.
And
City
how did you
Montessori, I
crack these?
remember.
Like, was it pure like persistence and showing up and like?
So we took a call that we will never do hardcore sales. We will never do like cold calls, etc. The idea was to find people in our network who can create a first level referral, meet with them, because otherwise it was going to be all over the place. Like otherwise we would have had to create a sales infra first and do that. So we didn't do that. What we did was, the core management team first would be out there. We would take meetings. We would go convince them, because we knew what, then we would realize what are the challenges in closure and conversion, etc. So we did that through our own networks. So the first 50 schools, in fact, which we onboarded, were purely from that channel. And then obviously referrals started coming in.
When
Then
did you
we
start selling? Like, how many months did it take to have the product ready? And then, like when did the go to market start?
It took us 16 months to get the entire platform, product, and the research part done. After the first 16 months, we then spent another 2 months in validating feedback, etc. And I remember still about 18th or 19th month, or let's say when we made the product live, 3 months after that is where we onboarded the first client, and then continued from there on.
And because you're selling to schools, so schools are like a pretty tough audience to convince.
Very tough, absolutely. So yeah, and then we were doing B2B on top of it. That's the model, but it was eventually B2B2C. But yeah, you were eventually the decision maker, and here our product was such that where the consumer is different but the client is different. The client will either be a parent or a school, and the consumer is eventually the student, because those minors will not take decisions on their own. So yeah, so that's where I think it made a lot of sense to spend time in building that product out. And we had given ourselves 2 years at least to build the product. We in fact were ahead of our time. Even in early stage when we were raising funds from Ahmedabad and all, we got those support. They saw what we were building, so that worked.
Who all were in the founding team?
So we were five of us at that stage. There was Parikshit, who was my career coach, as I mentioned. Then Savne came on board, who leads the entire tech side of the business. Then the other two members were Vansh and Nisha. We also had Dr. Chada, who was just at that point of time leaving from Delhi University and just retiring there. And he was a global authority when it comes to psychometrics. So Parikshit and I got him as the first person on board along with us, in a different model, but yeah. So he was part of the co-founding team as well in that way. And with him, we had 40 odd PhDs who worked with me. So we were a young startup who had 40 PhDs on board working with us to build the product. And it was not because we were able to hire them or anything. It was just pure relationships. It was network play. It was that gentleman who these people all trusted. And with Dr. Chaddan, we had an amazing camaraderie. We went to all possible global career bodies. So we got that branding. And I think from a team perspective, the fitment was right. We had the right people for business development, tech, strategy, and everybody has their own role. And those six people are still the core of the business even today. So that's something which is very nice.
Okay, but co-founders are you and Parikshit, your career coach.
Yeah. So the first two people who started it, yes.
So this would be around this would be around that you would have got your first that you would have got your first deal. 60. Okay. Okay. 60. Okay. Okay. So tell me the trajectory from that in terms of how the client base grew. What kind of revenue rates did you see? Like, 2017, what was the average monthly revenue rate that you were seeing, and how did that evolve over the years?
So the first year, obviously, the first financial year which we were active was 2017-18, and from there on we have grown with that. I think the key metric for us was a number of schools. So we have crossed the 250 school mark today. 250 school mark. We have the second metric was the moment we created a certification program. We created over now 19,000 educators have been certified under the Mindler platform. These guys come from over 1,250 schools. So we created that. Then the SaaS portal is again used by over 250 plus career coaches and universities, etc., who use our portal. So those were the other elements. Then in that journey, COVID came, and then fundraising. So all of those were all part of it.
When did you do your first fundraise?
So the first initial fundraise was from Taxman Group and IIM Ahmedabad. So IIM Ahmedabad was the first per se external investor. We got them on board. So we used those funds, and then we announced our latest round this Jan, which is $1 million round, which we closed, and now we are working towards our Series A, which we will do somewhere early next year.
And like this SaaS platform, what is like? Just help me understand that. Like, what is the use case for it?
So the use case is very simple. You have hundreds of coaches and counselors in different parts of the country. All of them use pen and paper instruments or just personalized guidance. So here is what we tell them, that within 5 minutes you get your own website, you get your own co-branded or white label portal, and you get to use our assessments, you get to use our technology. The students are yours, the guidance is yours. So from our end, I'm acquiring a last mile user who I'm not even remotely able to touch. So the cost of acquisition goes down. For the student, they're getting the best technology from the local counselor face to face. And the local counselor's value add is that he is getting the right set of tools, his efficiency is improving, he can even increase his ARPU. So that is something which a lot of them have done. So that is one use case. The other use case is edtech companies. So anybody today, if you look at it, all of them are offering solutions. But when the students are coming, they need to know what exactly do I need a solution for. So they use our assessment tools, etc., whether it is a university or edtech ventures. So that's the use case. We are most excited about that. We in fact launched a SaaS portal last year. We did a pilot the year before that, and when we launched it was COVID, just the start of COVID. So there were some tailwinds in that ways because a lot of them had to go online. So that worked. Not that like, but it also created a challenge in terms of their limited paying capacity. So it was like both sides. Like on one side you got wins in support of you, but the other was limited paying capacity during that period. So yeah, so that also came in.
And how is this charged? Like the SaaS portal, like it's a monthly subscription or a per student or what?
It's a per quarter basis, so it is linked to per student. So basically you invest about 9,000 rupees a quarter to get started, and in that you get about 5 or 6 assessments, which if you are selling, you are getting your ROI, right? So it was linked to that. At any point of time you could order for more. It's unlimited, like you can take as many as you want. But yeah, 9,000 was the initial ticket size. That even we started, in fact, before even we launched the SaaS portal, it was like you have to make an investment of about a lakh rupees. We'll give you 100 codes, and that worked really well. And we felt that if this can work, if we bring down the price and allow lots and lots of people to do it parallelly, we were training them. So it's like a chain that we are creating every month. Today I'm training about 1,000 people who start their journey to become career coaches, and immediately after that they have access to the portal. So the idea is that you keep on training them, and then when they want
And this training is
So
free or
it's
is
a
paid?
three-level training program. So we got again with Dr. Chadda and our advisors and our network. We collaborated with NCDA, which is the largest credentialing body in the world for career coaches. Uh, so we brought to India India's first multi-level credentialing program. So level one is a free 2-day conference which everybody can attend. All they need to do is register, and we have to approve their profiles on the back end so that we have the right set of audience coming in. After that, level two and level three are paid. Level two is about 24,500, and level three is about another 19,500. And post which you get official certificate and a degree from the NCDA body that you are a licensed practitioner, not only in India, globally. Because India may the challenge was that you can get licensed to do something in India, but there is no authority, right? Anybody can do it. So you have the coaching centers also doing career guidance. You also have a career counselor doing guidance. So we said that not may not be the right benchmark. So that's where we looked at countries like US, Canada, where it is extremely structured. It's regulated. Let's put it like that. More than structured, it's just regulated. It cannot be done by anybody and anyone. So we tried to bring that kind of science here because our endeavor was also very to be very active in the thought advocacy space because it's extremely important. If people perceive us even from a business perspective and just in general, it made a lot of sense to do that. So we have been doing that, and it's working well for us, yeah, at this stage.
Okay. And how much do you charge for the regular, like let's say a school signs a deal with you for career counseling? What do you charge for that?
So on an average, a school would pay us anywhere around 2.5 to 3 lakh rupees. It depends on the number of students, but yeah, on an average, if you break it down to a per student level, it's about 1,000 to 1,500 for the whole year, which was like peanuts. Typically, if you look at any decent school, like if I look at out of 1.5 million schools in India, you look at the private schools, a large number of them can afford something like that very easily. And today we have moved to a stage wherein we can actually offer licensed products. Our algorithms are built in time, so we can create customized products. We can do a lot more. So we'll continue to do that. Yeah.
Okay. And like, what is the service element in this? Like, if a school is buying, let's say, for 500 students, is it pure tech, everything automated, or is there also a service element in it?
So again, we could keep it pure tech, but we chose not to. The idea was that the audience that we were dealing with, we felt mentoring has a huge role to play. They need to have role models. They need to look up to people. So what we tried to do was with school programs, we bundle in a few personalized guidance sessions in a group format so that it is scalable. So pre-COVID, these used to be our team would travel all across the country in different schools. So let's say in a school, typically 2 or 3 times a year, so it allowed us to create that engagement, create the impact, and also was critical from our model perspective. If I want to drive upsells, I want users to use other services which they can, because all of them need it, right? So for that, you need to have some connect with the audience. So while we want obviously the product to do a lot of it, but yeah, we felt a human intervention is also important. It cannot be just an out and out Gmail kind of a thing. It has to have a service layer, particularly in the space that we are.
And what is the upsell? Like,
It
let's
could
say
be,
if
it could be personalized
uh,
guidance. It could be college applications, India, college applications abroad. It could be seeking
as
test.
in college what is the service there? Like, you
So just like
aggregate.
for no, so I'll give you an example. So let's say a student says I'm in grade 10th or grade 11th and I want to study in UK. I want to seek support on college applications. Help me get through that, plan it, shortlist my colleges, help me with my entire application work. So that is one kind of service. The second could
So
be
that's like a very human heavy thing, no? Like mentoring and.
yes, yes, yes. So we have career coaches who we have trained and certified on our roles. Plus, there are a lot of freelance coaches who work with us. So that works like that. So our role largely as an organization, there is quality control and service levels. So we do that. Apart from that, personalized guidance, you want support, you want virtual internships is a new product that we have where students can do that. Then there are test prep products, SAT, ACT, could be anything, certifications, profile building.
Like, you're getting into test prep on your own. Isn't that a
No.
very crowded field?
So we will
Or
not get into it on our own. We're just collaborating with existing players and integrating the best ones. So let's say if today I want to, like we've just done for SAT ACT as a product, we chose one of the best products out there and integrated that. Now our intention is not to build all these products. So these are all layers which are steps in our students' journey. We want to play a role at that, but yeah, they did not be developed by us. Test prep we'll never get into. Doesn't make sense. It's there are too many players doing some phenomenal work, and specializing in that, no point of getting into that. Like if I want a JEE test prep program, it could be any of the big players or any of the upcoming players also, where we see there is a lot of merit in the product. So that's where we are trying to curate that at our level as counselors. So in fact, we have consciously chosen not to even go marketplace route. So what we are trying to do is deep link certain products into our system, so that this is what we recommend. Because at a grade 10th 11, again, if you tell a student that okay, you want to prepare for JEE and there are 10 players, that the student knows anyways, right? So you're not playing your role of guiding them. So you have to take that effort to narrow it down, that maybe there are two programs. If you want to study offline, this is a better one. You want to study online, this is the better one. So and then you play a role, and because the students are coming through you, that's where the revenue shares and all those business elements also come in. But yeah, so that at this stage for us is secondary. What we are trying to build is getting the number of students, creating an impact. And I think if we do that, automatically in the next 3 4 years, that bit should come up. So that's the large investor story behind it. Yeah.
So, what age do the students start from career counseling?
So we
Like,
recommend, if you're in a CBSE school, it should be ninth onwards. If you're in an international curriculum or an ICSE school, because they have an interesting element there that they take subject selections as early as eighth. So we then recommend doing that. But again, we believe the definition of career guidance is different at each stage. So if you're talking about eighth, ninth, it's largely about subject exploration.
yeah, like science, commerce.
Yeah, so I personally, I would not say that all my clients are, but I personally am against the concept of getting a student into a coaching center at grade 8 to study JEE and all that stuff. I just don't get that, why people do that. So 8th and 9th should be exploration, just explore opportunities. 10th is where you start taking some decisions on what kind of subjects you want to study, start focusing a lot on your profile. So let's say if you're thinking about becoming a ethical hacker, then try and participate in some hackathons. You want to become a chef, try and do, just try your hands on stuff that you're thinking. And 11th 12th is where you start your college application per se, right? Then knowing which entrance exam, what will I need to do to get into this college, whether do I want to study in India, I want to go abroad. And today, like, I think this is a space which will get disrupted really really fast, because a very interesting thing in our new education policy is that they have created more exit routes. So earlier it used to be 10th, some students would leave and do a diploma, but majority would do a 12th and undergrad. But now they are saying at every stage you can exit. So it just creates so much more opportunities, and I see huge potential to work there, because that's a new animal. It's an untapped territory, and it's actually the ideal way to study, right? Like if I have, like if MDI gave an option after first year that okay, now take a break, go work, come back 3 years later, it would have been pretty cool.
Right. Okay. So, like you were saying that if someone wants to be a chef or someone wants to be a hacker, so these are all like paths which they can follow through the Mindler platform. Like it will recommend to them like these are some career options. Like you can be a chef or you can be a hotelier, and
Yeah.
this is what you should do. Like other paths and content around it and stuff like that.
So we have consciously tried to maintain a good mix between contemporary and new age careers, right? We also respect that while these are very cool careers to be in, it's something which a student may not be able to pick up upfront, like just given the societal pressure, right? Today, if a grade 11, 12th kid comes to me and says, I want to become a wedding planner, there is a route to do that, but it's extremely risky, right? Because then you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So as a coach and an organization, you have to be practical. So what we try and do, at least today, pre-NEP days, I would say, and might change a little bit, but yeah, if you are clear that an undergrad is something that you want to do, so let's say look at a related field, a media communication or a hospitality. If that is the career you're thinking of, if you're thinking of something like becoming a musician or something, engineering, sound engineering could be a route. Just giving them pathways to do the same things. You want to become a sports analyst, study data, math, stats. Just find the right path. Don't do that I want to become a banker, but I'm going and studying engineering. Let's avoid that, because then you are studying something which does not make any sense. Having said that, you will see, and it's largely because a lot of successful entrepreneurs have been talking about college education being redundant and all of that stuff, this new fad. I still tell kids, I think education is extremely important. You learn a lot, and I think more than just pure normal education, just the number of years and time that you spend in college, you grow as an individual. The
Right.
odds of you,
Peer group interaction.
yeah, it's just not like we always try and limit education to just what we are going to be learning through books. It's a lot more than that, and like So thus college education is important, and again the tier of college again makes a difference, is because largely of the kind of crowd you will have around you, right? So that also plays a huge difference eventually. Like my network of ISB or MDI it's extremely powerful network. Today, if I want to do something and if I just put a message there, I will get tons of replies, which otherwise, just imagine searching for these guys on LinkedIn and writing to them. Those things, and it is not just education. I don't know if I'm applying anything that I learned in a marketing class in ISB. I doubt that, but yeah, everything around that eventually gets applied, and it's very subtle, right? So that's the only thing. But yeah, but I can give examples of people who are clear, like absolutely clear that this is what I want to do, and this is and all your successful stories of right from the Virat Kohlis to the singers, like once you know that this is something I'm fantastic at, then there's no point wasting time on all these. But getting that right is one in a million, right? Very few people have that clarity. Very few people. Most people, they have a passion, but they have not done anything around it. So thus education becomes important. But if I see a kid who at grade 8 is already doing some amazing stuff on music or something, we would recommend an alternate path to them. And so when the system and the technology comes in, the technology can help you narrow down to these are the pathways where your chances of success is high. And after that is where the role of personalization comes in. So technology has a huge role to play, but at the end, it's a service oriented domain that we are into. So the human touch is extremely important. All we want to do is minimize the bias there. So that's our mantra there. We're not saying that we will replicate you. No, we need all of them, and that's the reason we are training and certifying them. But yeah, if they follow standard process, the odds of bias goes up.
Do you also have content around each of these? Like, say, someone wants to be a chef, there's some content around, like, what is it to be a chef and what path
So we
and
have built a lot. Yeah, we have built a huge amount. So we have something called as a career library. We invested a lot of time in those 16 months to develop that. Today we have something called as career vlogs. So we have created a huge amount of video content. We are also on the lookout for partners who have the right set of content which can be integrated, whether it are certification programs, etc. Because that's the way forward. Exploration and doing all of that, whether it is building master classes, whatever, it could be anything. The good thing is there are a huge amount of resources, and as an organization don't need to build that today. Like if anything, I find it's just a straightforward partnership, right? If Akshay has built something, I'll say, boss, let's collaborate. I'm getting you students. You have already built the product, and it adds value to my customers. It adds value to you. So it's like a win-win amongst all stakeholders. So no conflict as such.
what was your pre-COVID monthly run rate like, or number of students, or and what is it today?
So we grew by over 70% in the COVID year, despite all this lockdown. So I think COVID very early, the moment it happened around March, April. So we all at a senior level in our team, we sat down and we thought, let's plan for it to be here for at least a year. Let's think like that. If it goes away earlier, brilliant. If it is not, so we came up with some really interesting initiatives that we will do, and we planned that the challenge which will happen for us as schools are going to shut, right? So schools is not there, and it's not that school classes were not happening. If the school is collecting fee, it's functionally operational for us, and we could work because and it the boon on that side was that my delivery mechanism became completely online. So my margins got up, my efficiency got up, everything just became like a dream. It was super that way. But eventually the problem was majority of them were shut, so you could not have your sales team actually onboard more and more schools. So that was one. So number one, the certification program that we used to do was physical before that. We turned it online. So we saw 400% growth in that. Suddenly, instead of earlier, I used to go to Delhi, Bombay, Bhopal, Kerala, do these events there. Now suddenly it was just one room online, just zoom through and scale. So that happened. SaaS was just launched, so I don't know what would have happened pre or post COVID, but yeah, that scaled on its own. On the student front, we came up with some interesting initiatives. So we launched the world's largest internship program for class 12 kids last year. So we created a 8 week long simulated internship, which was delivered by Mindler. Because we knew all these students were not getting exposure, all these MUNs, every event was out. So we created our own property. Then we collaborated with the best universities in the country, and
What is this
so the idea
internship
was that
program
how
like?
do you look at getting exposure in multiple fields, right from digital marketing to entrepreneurship to finance. So we created a module of about 8 weeks, and there were rolling batches who came in. And one of the key things we were looking at, how do you use social media as influence and do all of those small things which students find really attractive, and we taught them completely free of cost. And the idea was just to establish the brand, get into that stage, because that we felt as an organization was not the time to increase revenues, but it was a good time to increase engagement and user onboarding. So we did that, got into huge number
This internship is essentially like a workshop, like you have an
boot
hour
camp.
of class every day, or
You can call it a boot camp, more like a boot camp, yeah. And they were working in a simulated organizations where they had leaderboard, they had tasks. So being very nimble on the tech
you
front
gamified it
allowed us to
basically.
do all of that. Now this year we are doing it even in a bigger scale. We'll launch it another few months, and then we followed that up with a scholarship hunt. So we used our assessment portal to create, and that's again because of the strength of the machine learning algorithms. We were able to create a scholarship hunt out of our platform and partnered with the best universities. We were able to offer over 3,000 scholarships worth 25 crore in COVID. These were all Indian universities in year one. This year we're going to have global universities also we are collaborating with. But all your best names, Flame University, Kriya, Narsi Munji, Shivnadar, OP Jindal, Atria, Amrita University, all of these guys were partnered with us. And an amazing contribution from them too. I think lovely partners to have on board. Through them, we were able to get all these things going. So worked really well. Over 50,000 students impacted through this method. So that again, that was the metric that we were all chasing, that how many, and class 12 was the most vulnerable audience, because they were the ones who were really hit bad from an education perspective, right? No idea of when exams will happen, when will the boards happen, when will the internals happen, when is the entrance exam going to happen. So it was like a tricky scenario for them. Yeah.
For the college, this would be like a lead generation tool. Like by collaborating with you, they get more leads because of the number of people on the platform.
So we took a call there also that we will never get into lead generation as an organization, because our end service was to student, right, and schools. So we did not want to get into lead generation. What we did was that we said we are going to connect you. It's just like a dignified or a more polished way of doing that. We said from a business perspective, right, that I will connect students to the universities where they are actually keen on. So what we were doing is through our scholarship assessment, students were going through this process. They were profiled. We would find the best fit talent, understand where they want to, then tell these universities that these are the kids who are aspiring to get to you. So only those connects were made. Otherwise, we would just let it be, right? Because getting into then there is a completely different line of business, which is database and lead management.
And each university would have its own qualification process to before they finally offer a
So we
scholarship.
tried to standardize it to a certain level wherein they trust our process. So we created a process, we got their buy-in to that process that yes, this works for us. And we were doing multiple layers. So like in our scholarship assessment, we were actually asking them, well, how many quizzes have you participated in? How many MUNs have you done? Is there any leadership exposure you have? How many language do you know? And when we were creating those profiles, that was a dream application for a college. And it would not be the same that everybody had. The only thing we had to do was get their buy-in that this is good enough for them, meets the requirement, and they can do some kind of selection on the basis of that, and then they trust our mechanism. Again, I could not have done it on day one, like because I was in business for 5 years, I had 200 plus schools with me, so the university could trust me. So that's where, and it's just like that. Any university is happy to do work. It's just that they're afraid of their brand being misused or wrong communication. So that kind of trust is was the play. I think that was the unique element, and then being nimble to pull this off. And I remember when we were having internal meetings, and we said within 3 months we have actually pulled off a mini startup within the startup, right? So those kind of things. Then motivating the team to work on it. Hiring was a crazy period in COVID, because you were not used to that kind of onboarding, right? People are working with you for a year, but you haven't even met them, and in senior positions. So that's a new learning now.
What was your headcount pre-COVID and today?
Pre-COVID we were 30, no, it was 28, and today we are now 48. We have added 20 members, and the plan is to grow another 30 by the end of this year. Yeah, so because we just raised more funds, so we are going to do that. So the idea is doing that. Yeah.
Can you share your revenue numbers just for an idea of what is the size of the business?
So we are on the run rate to catch the 10 crore mark today. So we are on an annual run rate on that 10 CR. But again, more than the revenue at this stage for us is the value add that we are looking at integrating. for our users. We are constantly looking at the right set of partners. So at least in my role, that's the most important thing I'm doing. Apart from that, yes, obviously building the sales infra, building the counseling infra, doing all of those things. So that's what we will continue to do over the next 12 months at least.
This 48 headcount, how many of them do sales? How many do tech? Like, what's the breakup here?
Okay, so we have been very, very sales light. As I said, we did not build the sale infra initially. We had to do it right now last year, but again with COVID, it did not make sense, so we pushed it a little bit. So majority of the team that I'm talking about is tech and product is about 9 to 10 people. Then you have a big counseling team of about 9 to 10 people. Then there's a service team, and then there are this entire partnership alliances and growth team. So that's how it is built. A lot of the team members in itself also do play the role of sales, where and when required. Like I would be pulled into school meetings or my peers, so we will do a lot of that. But yeah, very soon we have plans to build a full-fledged sales infra. But it's just that that has been a little off right now. We don't know what is the right time. Like I onboarded a couple of members in Bombay, and Maharashtra is completely shut. They can't do much, and it's really hard. It's really hard, like for them. So that's the challenge.
How will sales happen without? See, when you are selling and going through warm introductions, it's a different beast. But when someone in your team is going, how will that sales happen? Like, how do you?
So the idea was just to build the brand, right? When my guy is going first up with no brand positioning and the number of schools, it's like almost like this. Today, if you have Hyderabad Public School in Hyderabad, and if they are working with you because I've cracked that, after that, the next 10 schools they trust the fact that if a particularly good school has established it, it just works. That's how the repeat business and at least edtech will work because they need people who are right there, and it may not be the number one school in every region. It could be just early adopters, so we have to find that, and then you get into deeper into the market. That's one. The other thing we are doing is collaborations in different regions. So we have partnered with local partners in Oman, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi. So those are other territories we are penetrating. So we continue to do that. So sales, somehow, like I don't know if it's something which I feel hardcore. Is in this business, no, it has to be need based, it has to be trust based. You have to do that concept selling per se. So that's what we will focus on doing. Yeah, because at then if a school adopts a product unnecessarily and they don't see the use for it, like if I go to a school will till today has no intention to move out of that PCM mold, then my product is of no use, right? If everybody's going to just study engineering, I'd rather not take it, right? It doesn't make sense. So you have to first get that thought through, that yes, I as a school leader or an owner want to do that, and there are a huge number of people now who are wanting to do that. That's the good thing for us.
Fundraise do you plan to do? What's your like 5 year roadmap?
5 years is too long in our kind of space. So I think in the next 1.5 years, the Series A is going to happen, which is around about 3 to 3.5 million is what we look at. We have also found some really nice opportunities in this COVID area, COVID year, in fact, to work on a few areas. We are doing that, so that can change the dynamics a little bit. So opportunities in terms of integrating different products and different play. So some of those things could happen. Plus,
What are these? Like these?
could be though there are so many. Like test prep is one area. I would say skill based training is another. Language training is another. Then there is aptitude, capability building,
Just
certification.
training like what? Like teaching machine learning or coding or like.
Could be anything. Like there are today players who are offering, you can actually coding is one, that's Zoom certainly with white hats and all. So that is one, but coding is not the only skill. There are so many things which people can do. There are young startups today I know of who are coming up with classes on chess and so many other things. So like you have to be aware of what is happening, and there could be so many things which would work with us. Just exposure to, I know of a startup who's giving exposure to just broadly new age careers, just giving exposure, no end outcome, just exposure. That could be nice. So yeah, so these are like two properties we created last year. This year we might create one more, and we'll continue to do that or scale up the same things again. So those are some of the
These
things.
integrations for that, do people have to leave the Mindler app and go to some other app, or is it like tightly integrated within the app only?
Huge, I would say 60/40. At least 60% of the onboarding journey, everything happens there. when it comes to actual usage, that's where you will get directed. We can run it within the system also, but the idea is that that's something on their clouds, the service levels are maintained, so we are happy to do that. But yeah, we don't want students to go out. They take a decision, understand, seek our help. Once you've chosen to do it, and it's almost like replicating the offline scenario. Yeah, so it's replicating the offline scenario that you would ask me, I will recommend, then you will go and enroll somewhere. I will facilitate that entire process for you. When it comes to learning, you can go and study there, and then I'm always there. At a click of a button, you just come back. So we're trying to gamify a lot of things in our dashboard. So all those things are right now on.
Yeah. What is the competitive landscape for you? Who are other companies in this
So
space?
we get competition from a couple of players. So one is your local career counselors. Technically, should be competition, but we consider them as allies because they are there to actually work with us. So that's one. Then there'll be similar players who are offering career guidance services. Now, the big edge that we have over others is our own platform. That's, I think, one of the biggest edge wherein most of these players would use global tools or figure out other ways. They will create marketplaces, etc. So we have stayed away from doing that. So that's the second thing. Then we have some global players as well who are largely into college application related work. So they don't do something similar to us, but yeah, there are players like that. Then there are players in the allied space, like the likes of all these college information portals, which is people would do those players as well, and to search colleges, etc. Not technically not my competition. These are free portals people can use, but yeah, still. So I'll define the landscape like that. I think even in the future, the entire space of test prep, right, uh, will see a huge influence of counseling and guidance, because right now how it is that all these the JE, the needs, and all these IAS guys, they would just do extremely heavy advertising and students would flow in there. That would change. That would not be the same in the next 2 years. So a role of guidance, either they will do it on their own or they'll have a layer. And I think it's already happening. The good guys, and the moment you see a company expanding their portfolio in terms of test prep, if you look at, well, they have the right technology. Why don't they offer it for more courses? Right now, it's just limited to those two, JEE NEET, because that's where everybody's running to. But at some stage, that has to change, right? It hasn't changed for the last 2 decades, but it's slated to. So hopefully it does. Either ways, we are supportive of everything. Our end objective is a student should pursue what they're keen on, where their skill sets are. If it is engineering, by all means. If it's medicine, by all means. Just be clear on what that path entails, understand it, and then take
So
it.
you're not trying to do government tie-ups, like government tie-ups. Are you trying to do that? Like,
Uh, any opportunity. So we are right now working with a lot of CSR bodies, right from the Bharti Airtel Foundation to DLF to JSW. So a lot of work. Government projects, anything that comes our way, we are very, very happy to do that. In fact, there's something in the pipeline that we are working on to create collaborations there. The government space is slightly tricky. It's not like your normal concept selling or all. It's more tender rooted. It's different. The product is designed for that, but we haven't done too much there. Would love to. We have done few projects. We have done work with the Telangana government. We have worked with the Jammu and Kashmir government. We have done some. We are in talks with a few more state governments to do some projects. So all those things are there. So those are straightforward. It's just that what closes, and those are big opportunities in terms of business, right? There's huge base of students that you can work with and impact. So we're doing a lot of work on that side also. But yeah, it's largely, I would say, our clientele base is been more private sector oriented. That is an area where we have also learned how do you operate, how do you understand. Again, that's another area where the governments would need at least 5 6 years of success proven stuff. So it's not like you can just start your company and just work with them. And that's how it should be, right? Given the number of volumes that they're dealing with, I think they need people who have been there, done that, cracked it. I think we have reached that stage after 6 years that we could do more of that. But yeah, any opportunity that comes our way there, we would love to do that.
probably you'd need a different type of sales setup for that also. Like,
So we are just trying to think differently on it. We are coming up with something. We're doing some collaborations to make that work, wherein we operate as the partner to execute it. And yeah, but yes, it's a different ball game altogether.
This was the Spotlight presented by The Podium. To listen to more such interesting conversations, log on to thepodium.in.